Warver's World may be changing forever. Warver's World has always been a great open world PvP game mode, but because of the reward system that it has been super passive in its implementation. You just go around with your big circ, capturing points and fighting people for not any reason in particular. You just do it because it's fun, but there's not really an objective or some insane prestige for being the winners of anything. It's just because the game mode is fun and you enjoy killing your enemies. People just fight, or just go flipping camps to get your special rewards, or roam around trying to find enemies to kill because you like a small scale. But again, other than fighting people, there's not really any incentive to do anything else or win for that matter. Even though the gameplay of Guild Wars 2, especially in small scale, is incredibly skillful and cool to watch. That's why people do insane roam videos all the time, and it's one of the most popular Warver's World content on YouTube for many years. And ArenaNet knows this. So they're going in here and trying to fix it by changing the way that you win in Guild Wars 2 Warver's World, and also eventually giving us something for it, as well as giving it new content so we can experience Warver's World in a different manner and be revived for the community. Perfect move from ArenaNet, considering that one of the only hopes for open world PvP, Ashes of Creation, just died. So let's go through this post, what it will mean for the future, and whether you should try Guild Wars 2 if you enjoy open world PvP. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and let's get into it. First, let's talk about how Warver's World actually works right now. In terms of rewards, it's pretty simple. You get activities, you do them, you defend, you kill an enemy, you capture a tower, you get participation. The more participation, the more rewards. But they tick down every 10 minutes, so it can be fairly passive. If you kill a lot of enemies though, you get a lot of bags that are worth a lot of money, a lot of levels that give you a lot of currency, and well, it's very profitable if you're winning all the time. As I said before, it doesn't really mean anything, it's just killing people for the sake of killing people. Yes, there is a system right here, for example, that the more you capture, the more you kill, the more points you get, the war score right here, and at the end of every skirmish that lasts a few hours, you get points. The more skirmish you win, the more points you get, and at the end of the week, one server, one alliance, I guess, in the world restructuring world, wins the matchup and they ascend into different tiers. And you will think, oh, the better tier, the better, right? The more prestige there is to it. Well, that is kind of true, but not really because, well, nobody cares. Which means that people start manipulating the tiers that they go to get different types of fights. If you want a small scale, you go lower in the tiers on purpose so you can get fights with other small scalers. And if you are just a chill guy, you want to go in the middle because that way you don't have to really try hard or kill very powerful enemies. And if you end up in tier 1, then you are going to have kind of a bad time. But as I said before, there's not really any point to being tier 1. There's no reward, there's nothing to it. And this is what they want to change. First of all, they're going to make it so war score itself changes. There will be a test on February 27th that will last a month that will remove the points gained from holding objectives. Instead, you'll earn points for taking part in multiple different activities in Warver's World, as either a defender or an attacker, while ultimately helping your team achieve victory. You can get points for things like killing guards, building siege equipment, and downing and resurrection players. The purpose of these changes is to give more agency to players when it comes to how their team is performing in their Mist War, while not relying so much on passive progress ticks. This is important because usually you would just, keep your stuff up and you would win points and never be able to recover, but kind of being AFK, especially if your other teams, if your opposite teams, I guess, would not really play the game as much. This way you will have to be actively playing, actively capturing, actively defending your stuff to get more points. That being said, it'd still be extremely important to hold on the objectives and participate in actively defending the objectives you own, as you can generate large amounts of war score for your team during these defense events. Additionally, these points gained from capturing objectives will be increased. Several actions that grant war score will also scale by objective type, upgrade level, and the number of defenders in the area. This will start on February 27th with a new team being created in February 23rd, so pick up your guild. You can go play with them until April 3rd. So over a month of this new test to see how it works and if it actually helps making people invest themselves more into winning instead of just passively fighting each other. Speaking of, remember to go into Warf's World matchmaking and select your battle guild for the next season lockout, otherwise you'll get one randomized if you're not in a guild and you don't pick the one that you want. But Darrens, why would they even care about winning in the first place? What's the point? Doesn't this just kind of perpetuate the same problem? It just makes it so the way that you win, that doesn't really matter, changes? Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think this actually will do anything itself, but it's the beginning of the way of fixing this, trying to see how they can encourage not only to win, but also how to. It's the first step to get into a Warf's World system that actually makes the game mode alive, interesting, and in some way prestigious. The next change, and this will happen once they're happy with the results, is indeed rewards. We plan to run a second beta test of the system with these war score adjustments alongside another new system, end of match rewards. As mentioned earlier, we want to make a winning match feel more important to teams, and additional incentives for match placements are an element of that. After the second test is complete, we'll reevaluate the state of war score distribution, and if we're happy with the results will be enabled. Otherwise, we'll continue to iterate on the system through beta, events, tests until we feel that it meets our goals. End of match rewards will be permanently enabled once we're confident that the update war score system is a good representation of playing Warf's World with the intent to win. End of match rewards are a good reason to care about the match at large, but we also want to reward players for their accolades during smaller chunks of time. With that in mind, we'll be looking to create a similar reward system on per skirmish level to better align with individual play sessions. Log on, play for skirmish, and get some cool stuff. This means that even during the small skirmishes every 2 hours, you'll still get some of the reward even if you don't win the entire match, which incentivizes people that maybe are not really confident in their team winning to still play the game, which is honestly very, very good. Realistically, you can't make it so everybody wins because it's Warf's World, it's competitive. Only one team out of the 3 matchup will be able to win. So you want to get some incentive, some, I wouldn't say participation prize because you still need to win the skirmish, but something like that. Maybe people want to log in and try even if it looks like they're not gonna win. Now you do have to be careful about what you give in terms of rewards to people. At the end of the day, there's a lot of very good things that you could give. The question is, what are we gonna get as a reward though? What can be a good incentive for people to play the game, but also not too much so, well, if you don't get it, you feel horrible and you don't even try to get it and the game doesn't become like a complete degenerate place where they're doing some insane stuff to win. It'll be a hard middle ground. You can't really give a legendary because it's maybe a bit too much. If you win the entire thing, 500 people in Alliance get a free legendary. That's maybe a bit too much, for example. It will affect the economy insanely hard. There used to be these seasons where you get a special title at the end of the day, but people went so hard on them that they will burn out and never play the game again. It can't be as good as that either. So it's very hard to find a middle ground for what to give. A good idea, I think, is giving legendary materials that you choose by creating a special currency for this new system. Well, let's say you win a skirmish, you get a little bit of this currency. Let's say that you win a weekly match, you get an insane amount of this currency. And then you can spend it in many different, very hard to get materials, mystic coins, mystic clovers, gifts of condensed magic or might, mystic runestones, things you can't really sell to other players, but you can use to make legendaries and then sell it, for example. What if you have an insane amount of this currency, right, from playing all this time? You get a map of exploration that you get from clearing the entirety of the core map in Guild Wars 2 that, well, is like a 20-hour endeavor. But you deserve it because you went in there and you play the game, you win your matchup. I think that would be pretty cool. Especially when we have the legendary weapon starter kits that essentially only require the map of exploration to finish a legendary. It would pair it up so well for people who have them stacked and they just don't want to do core at all. There's many other ideas. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any of them, because I'm sure that ArenaNet will want to hear from you. Further down the road, we also plan to look at the participation system with many of these intentions as the war score updates, rewarding players for active gameplay while removing some of the passivity of the current system. Right now, what is the best way to get rewards? What is the best way to get your gift of battle to just, well, get your legendary from War vs. World, which is realistically the best reward in the entirety of this game mode, is to just come in here, kill a camp that is essentially just PvE enemies and wait for 10 minutes for it to tick down and do it again for a few hours. This is not really how War vs. World should work. It should be killing players. And I understand that it's okay to have this as an option, but this shouldn't be the best way to play War vs. World, the most efficient one. Also, I know I just almost died to an NPC, but I'm recording and playing, okay? I'm not paying that much attention. Making it so the rewards are a bit more active and people feel incentivized to get the rewards through playing the game instead of like finding a way to cheese it is a pretty good idea. And look at this, guys. These plans are largely focused on updating reward structures and incentives to better align with active gameplay, but we're also looking into new content ideas. While there aren't any specifics to share just yet, we're thinking about ways to add gameplay experiences to War vs. World. Whether that will be by refreshing existing mechanics or adding new things entirely, new events, we'll likely want to leverage a similar beta test and iteration cycle for these new ideas. Our goal is to find things that will be positive, permanent additions to War vs. World. That is crazy. Adding new events in War vs. World. Who knows? New skins for Borderlands, siege equipment. Imagine a battle royale inside of War vs. World for like a day and you can queue into it. That's I don't know. There's so many cool things that could exist. And I know a lot of people are scared of this kind of stuff. It's a pretty old game at the end of the day. People are accustomed to one thing and they don't want it to change. But, well, if you want things to get better, you have to make them change. You have to try your best and try new things. And I think War vs. World, because of Guild Wars 2 combat system, is a very, very good system. That's why it's been alive throughout almost 13 years without any sort of update. Not a really big one at that. Yeah, I guess we got the Desert Borderlands, but that was about it. The rest of the things have been essentially the same. And there's so many cool things you could have in War vs. World. Maybe we could get special action keys like we do in PvE to do special things. Probably not as overpowered as we get in PvE, like these vines, for example, but I don't know, something like this could be good work, honestly. Maybe sky skills are enabled for like a day or like a week or whatever. It's sky skill week. Maybe the bouncing mushrooms appear in certain situations, certain places or something, and you can just jump certain places that you usually would not be able to jump in War vs. World. Maybe you get ultra rapid fire mode like in League of Legends where you have no cooldowns. That'd be insane, but you know what I mean, like we can spice this up. We can have something cool, something new, and honestly it could all work in Edge of the Mists. There's a special map in Guild Wars 2 that is honestly not used at all right now. It used to be for whenever there's a huge queue. In the other maps, you can just come in here and play the game with no queues at all. But then they removed the... this is not a good idea. They removed the rewards, so nobody plays it anymore. But it's honestly a beautiful place, and you can just use it as like a place to do random stuff, like new events that, yeah, they're not balanced in any way, but it's just for fun. It could be very, very interesting. But honestly, it just has so much potential. And I'm very happy that ArenaNet is understanding how much potential War vs. World has and how important it is for the Guild Wars 2 ecosystem and doing something about it. I know that War vs. World restructuring didn't work out quite well, and I'm not saying all these things here might work well instantly. But you know what? I would rather have changes and potentially something great than just sit here with the mediocrity of getting it. I think if you are into open world PvP, guys, this may be the best time getting into Guild Wars 2. At the end of the day, this game will stay here for a long, long time, and War vs. World realistically will never die. So what else are you gonna play? Mortal Online 2? I guess you could. That game has like 300 players. If you want open world PvP right now, I think Guild Wars 2 may be the best option for you. So go and try it and be ready for that beta, because I'm sure that a lot of us will be playing. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to Twitch. Go watch me live every morning. See you guys around. Love you all.